welcome to Intermissions, your backstage pass to On the Air with Florenza. You'll experience bloopers, outtakes, surprises, and all the laughter in between. Intermissions is unscripted, unfiltered, and undeniably Florenza. So put your hands together to welcome today's guest to the show. Thank you so much, Pamela, for joining me on this episode of On the Air with Florenza, where I have with me today Piper. Um, she's more interested in your book, I think, than anyone. So
I love Piper.
yes. Now, before we get started, as is my tradition, we're going to toast to a fantastic show. And I have a little blush spritzer thing going here. I don't know what it is. I actually just grabbed some bottles and poured. So,
That's nice. I've got a little Sancerre. It's like a Sauvignon Blanc. So
ooh,
little French
cheers.
Sancerre. Cheers to you.
Hmm. Oh, that's pretty good.
That's
Even though
good.
it's early, but a little wine to brighten up the day is always in order.
I agree.
So we are going to start with my randomness of creating some questions that are true or false that I'm going to use for our intermission. Now, I specifically asked my assistant, and by assistant, I do mean AI, Irene, um, to put in some false questions. So I'm going to say the question, and then I'm going to say if it's true or false. Okay. And
Okay.
then you let me know. So the first one, you wrote your first novel after completing a marathon at age 40, and I believe that's true.
That is true. That is
Okay.
true.
Now, where was the marathon?
The first marathon was in Kingwood, Texas. We were living in Houston, and on our when we got married, my husband said basically, "How can I help you fulfill the dreams that you've been unable to so far in your life, and what are they?" And I said, "Well, I want to run a marathon, and I want to write a book." So on our first anniversary, we wrote a marathon, and on our second anniversary, he said, "Where the hell is your book?" So
Nice.
there we go.
Oh,
Yeah.
he's a keeper.
He is. He is.
Wow, that is awesome. Okay, true or false? Your first published book was a children's story about a dragon, and I think that's false.
That's false. That was a book I wrote for my grandson last Christmas, and it turned out so cute that it became the last book I published prior to her burning lies.
Okay. And then the first book was a nonfiction title on a workplace harassment, and that one was published in 1998.
Yes, it was. How exciting is that? I mean, workplace harassment, it is as dry as it sounds. But, in my old life, not only was I an attorney, but I was a licensed private investigator. So between those two things, I did a lot of who pinched whose butt and much, much worse.
Nice. Listen, those may have some shelf life still in them with the way things are going.
They really do. I'm sworn to secrecy.
Okay, our third one. You co-founded Skipjack Publishing with your husband, and I am going to say that was true.
That is true. And so for the first teen books that I wrote, they were with Skipjack, and it was a collaborative effort. And well, this would be number five. The last five have been with the digital imprint of Hachette UK, which is Bookouture. So it's been really fun to collaborate with my husband.
Nice. Now tell me about Skipjack and how did you guys come up with the name? I love names for publishing companies.
We came up with the name because we wanted the idea of skipping all the bullshit, of skipping all the stuff that was getting in the way of authors putting books in readers' hands. And it also was an homage to the fact that we met and married in the Caribbean, skipjack tuna, which is a sort of tuna. And we wanted something that was a bit Caribbean. And my first three books were set in the Caribbean. I've had seven books set in the Caribbean, but my first three were there.
Nice. I love that. Okay. True or false? You split your time between Wyoming and Maine, and I'm going to say that's true.
It is true. And as soon as we say that, where am I? The south of France for a year. But when we're not doing crazy things like traveling all over the world for my husband's job, we do split our time between Wyoming and Maine and love them both.
Nice. Okay. So in her Burning Lies, we talked about the raging wildfire that's both literal and symbolic. Of the elements that you've chosen, and you know what? This is going to be my first skip because I think you more than answered that question. So blah, 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 blah,
Blah,
blah.
blah, blah. Love it. Love it. So
Okay,
as you're,
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
Our last one, true or false? Up. I think this one is going to be true only because you gave me a smidget of it. You used to host a podcast called Crime and Wine.
True. Guilty.
I love that title.
Thank you. Thank
Two
you.
of my
Crime
favorite
and
things.
wine. Yeah.
Crime and wine. Listen, I was helping my husband to dig a hole in the backyard. He is giving me an outdoor kitchen finally.
Oh,
And
nice.
in conjunction with putting a pergola out there, he stays busy, right? Listen, just give him something to do and he stays out my way. I love it. And I was digging the hole where the um, platform is going for the the kitchen. And I am really good at digging holes. And the unfortunate part is they keep looking like graves. And he says, listen, that thing only needed to be 4 inches. You've got to stop. And
6 feet deep.
so that time I said, baby, I'm perfecting this 6 feet deep.
Oh my gosh, I'm impressed that you're out there digging. That's
Oh, yeah.
that's a superpower.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I dug that hole. Listen, I was aiming for 2 bodies deep for that one. So he says, you should not be bragging about that. I'm like, listen,
Yeah, you
just
should.
so you know, you'll be close
Don't
enough
cross
for me
me.
to
Yeah. Don't bother me, more like.
listen.
Yeah.
Oh, he already knows. Beside my bedstand is the Encyclopedia of Serial Killers, both volumes. So he's used
Oh
to
my
it.
God. I love that. I love it.
So thank you for doing our true or false, which I think I am going to continue to name happy hour for the intermissions.
Love
So,
it.
and this wraps up our episode of Intermissions, your backstage pass to On the Air with Florenza. Be sure to check out the full interview for this author as well as others on Florenza's podcast, On the Air with Florenza. And until next time, cheers.